The NFL 2026 NFL draft order is starting to really become more clear. So in today's video, I want to do my updated 2026 NFL draft mock draft with some trades. Hit that like and subscribe button if you guys do go on to enjoy. Let's hop into it. So as you can see, we are on the PFF mock draft simulator, and we are going to begin with at number 1, the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Titans would be wise, in my opinion, to go ahead and try and potentially trade down with another team later down the board. The question would be, who would want a first overall pick to take one of these quarterbacks? And the issue with that is I just don't think there would be a team not named the Rams, maybe the Jets, maybe the Raiders, somebody along those lines. But if you are the Tennessee Titans, you probably don't want to go back outside of the top 4. So with that said, I am just going to go ahead and have them take a player here and not trade down. They are a candidate to trade down, but I don't think they will in this situation. To me, this pick comes down to really 2 players, Ruben Bain Jr. and Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese is sort of he could be an off-ball linebacker. He can also be an outside linebacker. He could be a pass rusher. He could play in coverage. Like, Arvell Reese, to me, is the biggest difference maker on defense. But Ruben Bain Jr. might be the best traditional edge rusher in this draft. Like, if you're looking for a straight-up edge rusher who will be good against the run, will be able to get after the quarterback, can kind of do it all, then Bain makes a ton of sense. This one kind of just comes down to which one's your cup of tea. I'm going to take Ruben Bain Jr., but Arvell Reese, I have done mock drafts in the past on both this channel and the First and 10 channel. Check it out, where I've done Arvell Reese number 1, but I'm going to do Ruben Bain first overall to the Tennessee Titans. Number 2, we got the New York Giants. Now, this is a spot where I do think they would consider trading back, because ultimately, when it comes down to it, they don't really need the number 2 overall pick. They don't have to get a quarterback. You know, they would love to take Jordan Tyson here, but they can maybe trade back a few spots and still get one of these top players. And worst case scenario, they add something inside the secondary. So with that said, I am going to trade back here. And I guess the question becomes, like, how far back are you willing to trade? The Rams would be interesting because they could just do 8 and 29 for number 2 for the Rams to go ahead and take one of these quarterbacks and have them be their franchise guy behind Matthew Stafford. Maybe the team like the Jets would consider trading back as well. I just don't think the Jets are going to take a quarterback this year. Same with Las Vegas. I don't think they're going to take a quarterback. So you know what? I am going to do the LA Rams trade. I'll do 8 and 29 for number 2. For every single trade that I do in this mock draft, I don't know the actual specifics of what will be dished out. So this is sort of a rough outline of what you could expect. You also maybe could see a trade of 8 and a future first for the number 2 overall pick. But if I'm the LA Rams, I would want to keep that first rounder in 2027 because that could be a really good draft class with a lot of great players. So I'm willing to give up a late first rounder to New York and, you know, move up a few spots to take our quarterback. So we're going to go ahead and force this trade. The LA Rams move up to number 2. Matthew Stafford having a really good year, but he is getting up there in age. He might end up retiring after the season, or he might end up only having 1 or 2 more years left in him. If Stafford returns for a year, maybe they don't trade up, but I do think they would be wise to go ahead and take their franchise quarterback now and let him sit behind what is going to be Matthew Stafford's last couple seasons with the team. Now, the question becomes, do I take a Ty Simpson or do I take a Fernando Mendoza? I'm not going to consider Dante Moore here because I think he's going to return back to college. But I think this one just kind of comes down to what is the cup of tea of Sean McVay. Is McVay looking for, you know, a bit more of a Jared Goff safety blanket sort of guy like Fernando, or do you want to go with somebody with a high ceiling like Ty Simpson, who's looked really good for Alabama? I personally am more of a Ty Simpson guy than a Fernando guy, so I'm going to take Ty Simpson, but I could also see Fernando very much being a Sean McVay guy. All right, number 3, we got the Cleveland Browns, and look, I think they have to take a quarterback at some point this year or next year. They're not going to be good enough next year. We haven't seen Shedeur Sanders play. He plays tomorrow, so maybe Shedeur looks really good next week or the rest of the season. We'll have to wait and see. I think it'd be wise to take a quarterback here, but I also have to be honest with you. This team is so void of talent on the offensive end that I almost feel like this draft should be entirely spent on just drafting talent. And then maybe in round 2, you take a quarterback to start next year, or maybe you just rock with Shedeur or Dylan Gabriel again, or a veteran quarterback. I don't know, but I have to add more talent to this offense. So I'm going to go ahead and take a franchise receiver in Jordan Tyson, pair him up next to Jerry Jeudy, add some more weapons to a young offense, and maybe we'll take a quarterback down the board here at 20. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, the New Orleans Saints are up. I know a lot of Saints fans are going to say, oh, take Mendoza, take Mendoza. I'm not going to do that. Tyler Shock is going to be the quarterback this year and next year, I would suppose. So I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to overthink this one. I'm going to take Arvell Reese. He can play off-ball linebacker, or he can come off the edge. The Saints defense just needs a go-to difference maker. They need somebody who puts fear in other opponents, and Arvell Reese is exactly that. He puts fear in the opponents, and I think he'd be a great fit in New Orleans. All right, the Jets are up at 5. Look, you could take Fernando Mendoza here, but I think the Jets are probably going to slow play this, and I don't think they're going to take a quarterback right here. I really don't think they will. I think what's probably going to end up happening is I would imagine they're probably going to be in a situation where they want to stack up talent defensively, and with the name still on the board here, I think they should do just that. Look, you just traded away Quentin Williams. I think you go ahead and get his replacement in Peter Woods to add to that defensive line. Start rebuilding your defense, and then in 2027, you take your quarterback. All right, the Raiders are up at 6. Another spot here potentially for Fernando Mendoza, but I'm not going to do Mendoza here. I really do believe they're going to stick it out one more year with Geno Smith, and then in 2027, go all in on a quarterback. This defense is void of talent, and they can just kind of use anything back there. Some pieces to work with would be nice. And when it comes down to it, I like Caleb Downs. I don't know if he's a great fit for the Raiders, but at the same time, I don't even know what their coaching staff is going to look like next year. I think you got to go somewhere on the offensive line. I actually think this might be a trade down spot. And you know what? I'm actually going to do a trade down here. There's a team in the Arizona Cardinals who have a quarterback named Kyler Murray, who's probably going to be off the books here pretty soon. I think Kyler Murray is going to be off the Arizona Cardinals. They can trade up to number 6 with Las Vegas, take their franchise quarterback. And I don't think it would cost too much. I would say 10. It wouldn't cost an extra first rounder. It's not moving up to like the number 1 pick. I'll say 10, 42, and like, I don't know, 110. And let's just call that a trade right there. The Cardinals move up a few spots. The Raiders get additional draft capital. Cardinals right here, trade Kyler Murray. You take your franchise guy in Fernando Mendoza. And then the Raiders down the board are going to take probably the best defensive player available. All right, number 7. This pick is really easy. The Washington Commanders need somebody, a true difference maker in the back end. They were hoping Marshawn Lattimore could be the guy that can help bolster that secondary. He has not gotten the job done. They need a difference maker in the secondary. They need somebody who can be the leader of that defense as they start going a little bit younger. I think Caleb Downs could very easily be that guy. All right, the Giants are up at number 8. Let's not forget they made the trade from number 2 to number 8. I think right now is probably a good time to go ahead and add some more weapons to this offense. Unfortunately, Jordan Tyson's off the board, but that's totally fine. Mekhi Lemon and Carnell Tate are two really interesting players. I think Carnell Tate's going to get more of the hype, but I think Mekhi Lemon might be the better fit for what New York needs. With that said, I don't think you're going to take a Mekhi Lemon here inside the top 10. I do think you would take a Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate and Malik Neighbors with Theo Johnson and Cam Scatabo with Jackson Dart. Like, that's an offense that I can actually get behind. And they now have a second first-round pick to maybe take a corner in the back end to bolster up their secondary. So we'll take Carnell Tate here. All right, Cincinnati's up at number 9. Joe Burrow should be returning any day now. I don't think it'll be this week, but very soon he's going to be back. Need to protect him in the future. I think you add probably the best offensive line prospect available in this class. That's Francis Mauigoa. I think Spencer Fano's also right there with him. Francis, though, I do think will kick inside to play guard. And when you look at the Bengals, they badly need guard play. So I'm going to take Francis Mauigoa. I've done this in like every mock draft, and I'm probably going to do it until the draft is actually here. Francis to Cincinnati just makes a ton of sense. All right, Las Vegas is up at number 10. Don't forget, they traded with Arizona. Arizona got their franchise guy. Now, if you're the Las Vegas Raiders, it's just best player available in position of need, and they need help all over this defense. I think defensive interior is a big need. Not going to take one here, though. I think corner is a big need. Definitely going to consider one here. And frankly, I also think receiver might be a need, too. There's a lot of ways I could go here. Linebacker, they need linebacker help pretty dang bad. If Arvo Reese fell, he would have been my pick probably at number 6, but he went to the team 2 picks in front of them. I'm going to go here at number 10. I'm going to take the best corner available, though. They need a true outside difference maker. The question is Jermon McCoy actually going to come out? He hasn't played this year. He might play in a couple games at some point the rest of the season. I don't know. It's kind of been weird. He might just not play at all and just test the NFL draft, and he probably will be a first-round pick. But with that said, I think the Raiders are not a team that can take a risk. I'm going to take Mansour Delane here. Delane can play on the inside. He can play on the outside. I like his tape. I like his physicality. Really good player, sticky in coverage, play man and zone. A team like Las Vegas would be wise to start stacking some pieces up on that defense. All right, Miami up at number 11 here. I can't take a receiver. I just simply cannot do it. For my own sanity, I cannot do it. I think right now the goal has to be probably to add pieces around a young quarterback in the future. I think Tua is going to be the guy for one more year, but then I think next year they're probably going to replace Tua because then there's an out in his contract. Need to add some more pieces to this defense. I know the defense has actually taken a big step forward the past couple weeks, but when you look at their salary cap situation, they are going to be in a spot where they're going to have to get rid of a couple players because they just don't have the finances in the room to hold on to some of those guys. So guys like Bradley Chubb are going to be off the team. Guys like Tyreek Hill are going to be off the team. Some of the guys in the secondary are going to be hard to bring back. Like, this is a team that's going to be quite a different looking team next year. And I think you need to kind of fill the voids there. I'm going to take Jeremiah McCoy just to give them a CB1. I know McCoy hasn't played this year, but if he is anything like his 2024 self, then he's the best corner in this class. Really good length, good size, good fluidity. Moves well. Now we have to see what he looks like after the injury, but Miami is a team that could really bank on the upside of Jeremiah McCoy, and I think that'd be an excellent pick for them. All right, Dallas up at number 12. They're probably pissed the hell off because both these guys would be great for Dallas. But look, you end up in a situation where you got to go defense. We're starting to see the Cowboys play a little bit more healthy defensively, which is nice to see. We're seeing guys like DeMarvin Overshown back, Savone Ravel, Malik Hooker's coming back. We got Quinton Williams now in the fold. I still think we need some more juice off the edge, especially with the unfortunate passing of Marshawn Nealon. Rest in peace to him. But you have Donovan Ezeraku, who's really starting to come on a little bit. They signed Jadeveon Clowney, who actually is playing pretty well for them. They got some other dudes in there that are more DPR guys, designated pass rushers. So, but are those guys going to be long-term pieces for you? I don't think so, nor do I know. I think Donovan Ezeraku is going to be your go-to pass rusher in the future, which means he kind of needs a running partner. And I think TJ Parker makes a ton of sense for Dallas. TJ, in a very loose way, could be like the DeMarcus Lawrence to Donovan Ezeraku, who Donovan hypothetically would be your designated pass rusher and more like your Micah Parsons. Now, not saying TJ will be DeMarcus, not saying Donovan will be Micah, but sort of like a loose reboot of those guys. I think that's the best way to put it. All right, Minnesota's up here at number 13. Look, JJ McCarthy has not been good, but I don't think you're going to consider a quarterback here, especially with, you know, who's available. If Moore does come out, then sure, you could consider him here, but I don't think you're going to do so in this spot. Unfortunately, the offensive line is kind of weak here. I mean, I could take a tackle and Fano, pair him opposite of Christian Darrisaw. I mean, Darrisaw's been dealing with injuries a lot the past few years. I feel like interior, especially at the center position, is more of a need, but I'm not taking a center at 13 unless there's like a Tyler Linderbaum in this draft, which I don't think there is. Jeremiah Love is staring me down and just sort of saying, take me, because this is a team that really could use some juice in the ground game. And maybe they could, because they have a young quarterback, I could see this team having the money to maybe spend on a free agent interior offensive lineman. So you know what? I am going to take Jeremiah Love. I'm going to play this as if the Vikings in free agency took a center, right? Like a capable starting center, and they feel good about their offensive line, right? Donovan Jackson, Fries, a new center, some good tackle play. You got the weapons on the outside. You think you have a quarterback, and defensively, you don't have a ton of flaws. So sure, we'll take Jeremiah Love there. Why not? All right, 14, the Baltimore Ravens. Mekhi Levin's staring me down here, but I don't like the idea of having two undersized receivers in Zay Flowers and Mekhi Lemon. I mean, Mekhi is a different player than Zay, but I just don't love the size there. Now, if Carnell Tate had fallen, then he would have been my pick here at 14, but he did not. I think this team needs to probably look on the offensive line. I think right now there's a lot of questions, especially in the interior, which means I'm not going to take probably Spencer Fano here, which is kind of weird. I usually take him inside my top 10s, but I'm kind of considering Vega Ione because he can play guard for this team and be an upgrade there. And you look at this roster, it's not that bad. The only other thing that I would maybe consider here would take a linebacker like Sonny Styles. Roquan Smith kind of, tearing down a little bit, not being the same guy that he used to be. Sonny Styles is having an incredible year. I don't think he's missed a single tackle this year, which is just wild to think about. Keldrick Falk could make some sense. I'm not the highest on him. I don't think he's a top 15 level player, but he does feel like a schematic fit for what Baltimore wants to do. If you want some juice off the edge, Bailey, Cassius, I like those guys. I am going to ultimately take Sonny Styles here, though. I think Sonny Styles could pair nicely next to Roquan Smith. I think he's probably the best defensive player still available here, or at least one of for sure. Roquan Smith can help kind of mentor Sonny as they kind of get going. Sonny Styles is a big dude, 6'5", 243. Looks the part. Looks like a Baltimore Ravens linebacker, that big physical style. I like that fit there. All right, 15 is Kansas City, and I mean, Spencer Fano's right here. You want to get a new right tackle in the fold that's not going to jump off sides every 30 seconds. That is very intriguing. I am definitely considering that here. Other than that, I mean, maybe I would consider adding some juice off the edge, like a David Bailey to pair up opposite of George Karlaftis. But I just don't think David Bailey's their style of guy. I think they like the more bigger, longer, rangier guys. And I don't think Keldrick Falk is a scheme fit for this team, so I don't think they would take him. So with that said, I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to take the right tackle here in Spencer Fano. Got to protect your well, I'm not young anymore. Got to protect your quarterback. You're in his prime. Isn't he 30 now? So damn, he's definitely not young. Time has flew by with Patrick Mahomes. Time is flying. All right, Texans fans are probably pissed off at me for doing that, but don't fear. I think Vega Ione is a really good player. You could put him inside to play guard. That whole offensive line needs to be reworked, and this is just one good starting point right now. All right, Carolina up at 17, and you know, the defense is taking quite a big step forward this year. They're actually like a borderline top 15 units, and with Mekhi Lemon being here, I'm just going to take Mekhi Lemon. This would almost feel like Emeka Egbuka going to Tampa Bay, where it's like, sure, I could use an edge. Sure, I could use a linebacker. I could use those pieces. But this is an incredible player that's going to be an instant contributor immediately. And he pairs so nicely with Tet and Xavier Legette. Just a reliable guy. I will say Jalen Coker does make this a bit more interesting because Coker had a pretty good year. I just think Mekhi Lemon's a better player. And I think the best way to make Bryce Young a better player would be by giving him a reliable safety blanket, and then Ted and Xavier can make the big plays down the field, and Coker can still get involved, especially if Legette doesn't start to play better. Then Coker can also play, and Mekhi is not just a slot only player. He can be moved inside and outside. I don't think they need a Keldrick Falk. I don't think they need, I mean, sure, you could always use a David Bailey, right? Like an extra pass rusher to pair next to Nick Scourton. But you also have Princely Amonmiela, and you probably want to see out a little bit. Linebacker, I probably would have taken Sonny Styles if he was here, but he did not fall right here. And it's a very deep linebacker class. You can get some really good linebacker play down the board here. I think in round 2, with the 49th overall pick, that's when you maybe take like an Anthony Hill or something. And I'm kind of talking myself out of the Mekhi Lemon pick and maybe more David Bailey, just getting that pure pass rush juice off the edge. It's a coin toss. Panthers fans, let me know, who would you prefer, Mekhi Lemon or David Bailey? I'm going to go ahead and take Mekhi Lemon, but David Bailey was heavily considered there. All right, 18, the Detroit Lions. That's a weird one. Felt like it's been a while since we've seen Detroit draft this low. The offensive line has not been good for this team. The tackles have been fine, but the interior has just taken a bit of a step back. I think you need to get back to who you are. You're a physical, downhill run football team. You want to be nasty. You want to be tough. You want to be physical, bite the kneecaps off. I don't think Proctor's really that guy, but I do think Jennings Dunker definitely is. Jennings Dunker, while he's got shorter arms, he's going to move inside to play guard for my team. And he's a nasty guy. He's willing to do what it takes in the run game. And I think for a team like Detroit, who, look, let's be honest, they have not done the most typical approach to the draft. They like their Iowa guys, and it's kind of hard to blame them. I think Jennings Dunker is a culture fit. I think he's a schematic fit. And I think you kick him inside to play guard, and you start to improve that interior once again. All right, Tampa Bay's up at 19. I like Keldrick Falk here a lot. A 3-4 defensive interior. I think it could make some sense. I also like David Bailey a lot too, because they really need some juice off the edge. Just something to get after the quarterback. I think linebacker is a huge need too. If Sonny Styles is off the board, I think you take one of these guys in round 2. This pick comes down to David Bailey or Keldrick Falk, and I'm going to go with David Bailey because I think more of an edge presence would be needed more so than an interior piece. But Keldrick Falk definitely makes a lot of sense there. All right, number 20, I got the Cleveland Browns. At their first pick, they took Jordan Tyson. I think now you got to take a piece on the offensive line. The board's thinning out quite a bit on the offensive line here, but Caden Proctor, I think, would scare a lot of Browns fans because of the Jedrick Wills comparison, the Evan Neal comparison. And I got to be honest with you, I really can see Caden Proctor being like those guys. So I'm not going to take Proctor here. I'm not going to scare Browns fans to death. I think I might just take Caleb Lomu. I'm not the biggest Lomu guy, but developmental tackle that I think has a very high ceiling. I think he could start right away for you. You just have to start retooling this offensive line because the tackle room has been bad this year. And I just don't see another position really being, that needed. Could you take a piece on the defense like a corner? Sure, you definitely could, but I'm going to just go ahead and take the offensive line here. I would consider Proctor, but I think Browns fans are like, no, please get him away from my team. So I think I'm going to take a different guy here and take Caleb Lomu for the Browns. All right, 21, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is a potential spot for a Sam Levitt. I think, or John Mateer or Jada Maeva. Keep an eye out on these guys' names if they do decide to go pro. Nussmeier, I just don't see it. I think that PFF at 61 kind of on crack here. He did not have a good season, so I don't know about that one. With that said, I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I think this team needs to add some juice in the receiving core, just more pieces to work with. And with that said, Denzel Boston, the body type, 6'4", 209, kind of gives me some DK Metcalf likeness. And I think this team would be wise to maybe try and find a different body type from him. And that brings me to Chris Brazel, who 6'5", 200, really twitched up, really good athlete, really good productivity. Yes, he comes from that Tennessee system, but I think he can get off the line of scrimmage. I think he has a good release package. I think as a route runner, he doesn't, he's a pretty decent route runner for Pittsburgh that just needs some juice in the receiving core. I think Chris Brazel makes a ton of sense, so I'm going to take Chris Brazel here. All right, Chargers up at 22, and Keldrick Falk is right here. I know that offensive line has been not great this year, but there's nobody who, maybe besides Caden Proctor, you can kick him inside to play guard. But I think you could probably wait a little bit down the board and maybe take like a Jake Slaughter in round 2 and feel pretty good about that. You've invested so much into it. I think you need to start investing more into your defense. Keldrick Falk playing that 3-4 interior edge. I think that makes a ton of sense. Just give them more juice, more of a pressure guy up the middle, somebody that has some legit upside to be an excellent player. All right, 23, I got San Francisco. Brandon Ayuk might be off this team, which makes that really much more interesting, but you do have Ricky Pearsall, you do have Jawan Jennings. We've seen Kendrick Bourne play great this year, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I would take Caleb Banks, but they just invested so many pieces to that interior defensive line that I just don't see them doing that here. If you're looking for more of a straight up pass rusher to pair opposite of Nick Bosa, because Micah Williams is not going to be a great pass rusher, but he will be a decent run stuffer, and I think pairing him opposite of Nick Bosa makes a ton of sense. But if you're looking for more juice off the edge, I don't hate the Cassius Howell pick here. He's got short ass arms, but him learning with Nick Bosa, I think would be very, very good for him. The only other player I'd consider here would be by taking Caden Proctor to adding to that offensive line. And that offensive line feels like they need talent. But I think maybe what you could do is maybe they could, I don't know. There's actually, there's actually some good depth here in the edge rushing room. So I am going to go ahead and take Caden Proctor. But Cassius Howell makes a ton of sense to add here too. I think maybe pairing up Trent Williams with Caden Proctor. You can move Caden inside. You can keep him on the outside. I'll take Caden Proctor there. All right, Dallas took TJ Parker at 12. Now at 24, I think you need to add a cornerback here pretty badly. And there's a couple good names here. Avion Terrell, a little bit undersized, but is really, really smart player, sticky in coverage. Colton Hood gives you a little bit more size, but I think Avion Terrell is just a better coverage player, although this guy's not bad at all. He's having a really good year for Tennessee. AJ Harris, more of a press man guy. I do like Keith Abney quite a bit. This one is tough. I think I'm going to go with Avion Terrell because while Colton Hood is a little bit bigger, he's not that much bigger. I do fear the idea of Deron Bland and Avion Terrell on the outside. Like that run defense is going to be horrendous. But I think he's a willing tackler. He's not afraid to get physical. Not having the greatest of years though. This one's tough. I think I'm gonna go with Colton Hood. I just need a bit more size there. I'll go Colton Hood. It's tight though. It could go either way. All right, 25 Chicago. They need some more pieces on the defense, more help off the edge. I think Caleb Banks is right here. He's coming off an injury, but prior to the injury, he was a top player in this class. So adding Caleb Banks to Chicago, I think is a home run hit. 26, I got the Buffalo Bills. I think they need more of a run defender. Maybe a linebacker or two could be nice. I like potentially adding a CJ Allen. I like an Anthony Hill. Bring them some physicality in the linebacking core. Cassius Howell was not the great run defender. Romeo Height, not so much either. LT Overton actually kind of checks out here for Buffalo. I just don't know if I take him round 1. R. Mason Thomas, no. Quincy Rhodes, no. He's got good size, though, to him. Joshua Josephs, I like him a lot. I just don't know if he's the type of guy that Buffalo would take here. I'm going to take a linebacker here. Obviously, the linebacking core has dealt with injuries. It hasn't been as good as it used to be. Add some more talent here. CJ Allen, Anthony Hill, Deontay Lawson, Torian York. I like all 4 of these guys. I think Buffalo would gravitate more towards a CJ Allen more so than an Anthony Hill. So I'll take CJ Allen. All right, 27. Man, we need a guard pretty desperately badly. Bradford can no longer play guard for this team, and unfortunately, the board is just not great here at this point. I think we'd be reaching if we were to take a guard here. If there was a player, I would take Austin Several, or however you say his name, because I believe I can kick him inside to play guard and feel pretty good about that. But that's gonna be hard to sell me on. Other than that, like, the cornerback room is kind of falling apart a little bit. I don't think they need a linebacker that badly. Like, I like Anthony Hill. I don't think that's their biggest of needs. Although bringing back Byron Murphy and Anthony Hill, the Texas boys, that'd be kind of cool. Not a lot of needs for this team. They don't need a receiver. They just took that. And I hate doing this, but I might have to reach out on offensive lineman here, and I guess I'll take Austin Several here. Kick him inside to play guard. I think that's an upgrade right there. Pair up Gary Zabel with Austin. Sure, why not? All right, Jets up at 28. They took Peter Woods with their first pick, and I think maybe now you add some pieces to the secondary here. Avion Terrell is available, although they do have some guys there in the secondary that I think you want to try out and, see what they have in them. Azariah Thomas. All those other pieces, the young guys right there, Jasir Taylor just brought in as well. So not sure that's the biggest of need. I think linebacker is a big need though. Quincy Williams is going to be off the team, and you have a lot of questions with Jamie Sherwood. If there's one thing Aaron Glenn does like, he does like bigger linebackers. And if that's the case, then Anthony Hill's as big as they come. Big, physical, gets downhill. He can come off the edge. He can blitz well. Solid in coverage. I wouldn't say coverage is like his best thing in the world, but I think he's good enough. He's just a big linebacker that I think Jack Campbell would be a decent comparison for the New York Jets. All right, the New York Giants up at number 29 with their first pick. They took Carnell Tate. Now I think he had a piece to the secondary, and look, Avion Terrell's right here, so I'm not going to overthink it. Pair Terrell, you got some pieces in the safety room. You got other corners there too. Avion Terrell, I think, is the perfect complement piece to those guys. He doesn't have to be a CB1, but he can be a perfect CB2. And if you need him to, he could fill it on the inside as well. So I think great pickup there for the Giants. And honestly, a great draft for the Giants too. All right, 30, the New England Patriots. I mean, not a ton of needs for this team. I think right now it's just kind of taking best player available in terms of a potential position of need. And I mean, Kenyon Sadiq would be nice. Like if you need some more juice in the tight end room, I think Kenyon Sadiq makes a ton of sense. But I also think you need to start adding some more juice to this defense. And, Cassius Owl's here. He can definitely fly a little bit off the edge. Christian Miller's still available, although they don't need interior, but he's still here. He's a good player. For me, this pick comes down to, do I want to add more talent around Drake Bay and give a Kenyon Sadiq there? Or do I want to go with the Cassius Howell? And ultimately, when it comes down to it, this offense for New England is absolutely fine without, a Kenyon Sadiq. By the way, I think Denzel Boston also makes a ton of sense here too. If they need more of a size presence on the outside, you got Diggs, you got Kyle Williams, maybe a bit more of a size thing. But again, that offense for New England is totally fine. Maybe as the year starts to go on, like in the playoffs, we'll start to see some fall off here and there. But I'm just going to go ahead and add Cassius Howell. He's one of the best pass rushers in this draft class. All right, 31, the Philadelphia Eagles. Is it crazy to take Kenyon Sadiq here? Like, I know they have Dallas Goedert, but how much longer is Dallas going to be the guy? He's having a good year for them, a really good year. But I look at the board and it's like, man, it's kind of tough here. I think the secondary is kind of at this point. I mean, they tried the Jair Alexander thing. It did not work out for them. They traded for Jalen Phillips. I wouldn't be surprised they brought him back. So edge is not like the biggest of needs. I know there's always this conversation about, is AJ Brown leaving or is he staying? I think that's a possibility for Denzel Boston here. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take either Kenyon Sadiq or Denzel Boston, and I'm going to take Denzel Boston here just because I'm going to have Kenyon Sadiq go right after him to number 32, the Denver Broncos, who desperately could use some more juice in the tight end room, and I'll take Kenyon Sadiq. So those picks kind of work out for each other. So this is my first round mock draft with just a couple of trades. You guys let me know in the comment section below. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? You can tell me down below. Hit the like and subscribe button. Love you guys. Peace.